Let's be honest. The moment a woman shares her fears with you, real fears, not the cute, surface-level ones, something inside her has already crossed a line. This isn't about drama or vulnerability for attention. This is about risk. And women don't take emotional risks with men they don't see a future with. If you're listening closely, you'll realize those fears aren't weakness, they're signals. Quiet, dangerous signals most men misunderstand or ignore until it's too late. When a woman talks about being abandoned, replaced, or not being enough, she isn't asking you to fix her. She's watching how safe you feel to her nervous system. Safety isn't built with compliments. It's built with consistency. Her mind is asking one question beneath every word. Will this man still be here when I'm not perfect? If the answer feels uncertain, she pulls back long before you notice. Here's the truth most men never hear. Women don't open up when they feel secure. They open up when they're deciding whether to trust you with their future. That moment is fragile, it's quiet, and it passes quickly. When she admits fears about time, age, past mistakes, or being hurt again, she's letting you see the cost of loving her. That's not casual. That's an audition for permanence. Notice how these fears often come out late at night, or during moments that feel emotionally charged for no clear reason. That's not coincidence. Her defenses are down. Logic is quieter. Emotion is honest. She's revealing the parts of herself she normally hides behind strength, humor, or independence. And she's measuring your response more than your words. Most men think the right move is reassurance. It's not. Empty reassurance feels hollow. What she's scanning for is emotional presence. Can you sit with discomfort without trying to escape it? Can you listen without minimizing? Can you hold space without making it about yourself? If you rush to solve, she feels unseen. If you dismiss, she feels unsafe. If you lean in calmly, she feels chosen. Here's where many men fail without realizing it. They treat her fears like temporary obstacles instead of long-term truths. But fear doesn't disappear with time. It quiets only when trust replaces it. And trust isn't built through intensity. It's built through repetition, showing up the same way even when nothing exciting is happening. When she shares fears about the future, she's already imagining you in it. She's wondering how you'll handle conflict, distance, stress, and silence. She's asking herself if you're stable enough to build something real with. This is the stage where attraction transforms into attachment, or quietly dies. Understand this clearly. A woman protecting her heart will never expose its deepest fears to a man she plans to lose. If she does, it means she's already hoping you'll stay. When she shares fears about losing herself in a relationship, pay attention. This isn't rebellion. It's not independence posturing. It's the echo of a woman who has loved deeply before and paid a price for it. She's afraid that choosing you might mean abandoning parts of who she is. And that fear only appears when the choice actually matters. Women don't worry about losing themselves with men they don't take seriously. Casual connections don't threaten identity. But a man who feels like home, that's dangerous. Because home changes you. It rearranges priorities. It reshapes routines. And she's asking silently whether loving you will cost her too much. When she says she's scared of getting attached too fast, what she really means is that she already feels it happening. Attachment is not logical. It doesn't ask permission. And she's trying to slow down something that feels inevitable. That fear is a brake, not an exit. She's not pulling away. She's checking if you'll drive carefully. Another fear women reveal at this stage is about repeating old patterns. She might mention past relationships that drained her, changed her, or broke her trust. This isn't comparison, it's calibration. She's measuring you against her pain, not other men. She's asking herself if you'll become another chapter she survives, or a future she builds. Men often hear this and feel accused. They shouldn't. This isn't about you personally. It's about her nervous system protecting itself. Trauma doesn't care how good you are. It only cares about familiarity. And unfamiliar safety can feel suspicious at first. That's why patience here matters more than charm. If she talks about fearing emotional dependence, listen closely. This fear comes from women who have learned to be self-sufficient out of necessity, not preference. She's strong because she had to be, not because she wanted to be alone. Letting someone matter again feels like stepping into traffic without armor. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When she shares these fears, she's testing your emotional maturity. Not consciously, but instinctively. She's watching to see if you get defensive, impatient, or distant, or if you stay grounded. A grounded man doesn't rush her. He doesn't demand certainty. He doesn't interpret fear as rejection. Silence during these moments is powerful. Not the cold kind, the calm kind. The kind that says, I'm not scared of this conversation. That steadiness communicates more than promises ever could. It tells her you're not trying to control the outcome. You're willing to let it unfold naturally. Women decide their future with a man long before they say it out loud. These fears are the doorway to that decision. How you respond determines whether she feels safe, stepping through it, or chooses to quietly close it forever. Understand this. A woman revealing fears about herself is offering you the most honest version of her. That's not something she does twice if it goes wrong. There's a specific fear women only share when they're emotionally invested, and it's the fear of not being chosen long term. Not today, not tomorrow. But when things get hard, boring, or inconvenient, when she says things like, she's afraid you'll wake up one day and want something different, she's not being insecure. She's revealing awareness. She knows attraction alone doesn't keep a man. Character does. This fear comes from watching men leave once the mystery fades, once routine sets in, once real life replaces fantasy. And when she admits this to you, she's not accusing you of leaving. She's asking if you understand what staying actually requires. Consistency when excitement dips. Loyalty when options appear. Integrity when no one is watching. Women don't fear being alone. They fear investing in the wrong man. Being alone is familiar. Being wrong is expensive. Emotionally, mentally, biologically. Time matters differently to women, even if they don't say it directly. When she talks about wasted years or starting over, she's thinking about the future in a way most men delay far too long. Another fear that signals future intent is when she worries about becoming too emotional with you. This isn't about drama, it's about exposure. Emotion makes her visible, and visibility creates vulnerability. She's asking herself if you'll respect her softness or use it against her later during conflict. Watch how she phrases these fears. They're rarely direct. Women speak in emotional language, not logical declarations. She may say she's scared of being misunderstood or of giving more than she receives. Translation: she's asking if you're emotionally intelligent enough to see her effort before resentment grows. Men often miss this because they're focused on performance, being impressive, being strong. But strength without attunement feels lonely to a woman. She doesn't need you to dominate her fears. She needs you to acknowledge them without shrinking or inflating yourself. One of the deepest fears women share is about emotional safety during conflict. She might mention past arguments that turned cruel, cold, or dismissive. This is critical. She's not afraid of disagreement. She's afraid of how you fight. Because how a man handles conflict tells a woman how he'll handle marriage, stress, and responsibility. If she's opening up about this, she's imagining a future where disagreements are inevitable, and she's checking if that future feels survivable with you. A man who listens instead of reacts becomes rare in her eyes. A man who doesn't weaponize vulnerability becomes unforgettable. Here's where many men unknowingly disqualify themselves. They joke, they deflect, they downplay, not out of malice but discomfort. And discomfort signals emotional immaturity. She may not call it that, she'll just feel something close inside her. When a woman shares fears about emotional safety, she's offering you a map to her heart. Ignore it, and she'll eventually walk alone. Respect it, and she'll begin anchoring herself to you emotionally without saying a word. The truth is simple but uncomfortable. Women don't reveal these fears to feel better. They reveal them to decide. And once that decision is made, it's rarely reversed. There is a fear women rarely admit unless they're already imagining permanence, and that's the fear of becoming invisible over time. Not unloved, invisible. When she says she's scared of being taken for granted, she's not asking for constant attention. She's asking if you understand how slow neglect destroys attraction. Quietly, without warning. Women notice patterns long before men notice consequences. She's watching how you treat her when she's no longer new, when she's tired, when she's emotional, when she's not performing happiness for you, and when she voices this fear, she's checking if you'll stay intentional when comfort replaces excitement. This fear usually comes wrapped in subtle language. She might say she's afraid relationships fade or that people stop trying. What she's really asking is whether you see love as maintenance or conquest. Many men win a woman and then relax. Women feel that shift immediately, and it terrifies them when they care. Another fear that signals future intent is when she worries about emotional imbalance, giving more than she receives, loving deeper than the other person. This isn't about keeping score, it's about self-respect. Women who voice this fear have learned the cost of overinvesting, and they're trying not to repeat it. If she's sharing this with you, it means she already feels herself leaning in. She's aware of her own heart moving forward, and she's checking if you're moving too. Attraction without reciprocity turns into self-betrayal. She doesn't want to choose you at the expense of herself again. Pay attention when she talks about feeling too much, too sensitive, too emotional, too intense. That fear didn't come from nowhere. It came from being tolerated instead of cherished in the past. And now she's asking if you see her depth as a burden or a gift. Here's the mistake men make. They try to neutralize her fear by telling her she's not too much. That sounds supportive, but it avoids the real question. The real question is whether you're capable of meeting her depth without feeling overwhelmed. Whether you can stay steady when emotions rise instead of shutting down. Women test emotional endurance unconsciously, not to exhaust you, but to see if you disappear under pressure. Because disappearing emotionally hurts more than leaving physically. When she shares fears about emotional intensity, she's checking if you'll remain present when things get real. There's also the fear of settling. She may express worry about choosing comfort over passion, or stability over desire. This is not dissatisfaction with you. It's her fear of choosing wrong for life. She's weighing long-term fulfillment, not short-term excitement. And she's asking if you understand that love needs both safety and spark. A man who hears these fears and stays grounded communicates something powerful without words. He communicates longevity, emotional stamina, reliability, traits that matter far more than charm once the future becomes real. When a woman shares fears about being forgotten, unbalanced, or emotionally unsupported, she's not complaining. She's inviting you into a deeper level of connection, one where intentions matter more than words and actions slowly write the future. Ignore these fears and she will slowly detach to protect herself. Honor them, and she will begin building something with you that goes far beyond attraction. One of the most revealing fears a woman shares when she's thinking long-term is the fear of losing respect for the man she chooses. This one is rarely spoken directly because it feels dangerous to admit, but when it surfaces, it sounds like concern about your direction, your discipline, or your consistency. She's not trying to control you. She's asking herself if she can admire you 5 years from now. Respect is the backbone of female attraction. Without it, love erodes quietly. When she talks about being scared of ending up with someone who's stopped growing, she's revealing a deep truth about herself. She wants evolution, movement, purpose. And she's evaluating whether your life trajectory aligns with hers. This fear often comes out as questions about your goals, your routines, your values, not in an interview way, but in moments that feel casual. Those moments aren't casual. She's mapping your future behavior based on your present habits. Consistency matters more than ambition here. Big dreams without follow-through don't reassure her. They unsettle her. Another fear that signals serious intent is when she worries about emotional labor. She may mention feeling drained in past relationships, carrying the emotional weight alone. This is important. Women don't fear effort, they fear imbalance. She's asking if you'll notice when she's tired without being asked, if you'll take responsibility for your own emotions instead of outsourcing them to her. Men often underestimate how exhausting it is for a woman to manage both her feelings and a man's unchecked emotional reactions. When she shares this fear, she's testing whether you're self-aware enough to self-regulate. A man who can process frustration without exploding or shutting down feels safe to build with. She may also express fear around trust, but not in the obvious way. It might sound like skepticism about promises or hesitation to fully rely on someone. This isn't cynicism, it's pattern recognition. She's learned that words are cheap and behavior is everything. And she's watching if your actions align with your intentions over time. When she admits she's scared of trusting again, she's not asking you to prove yourself instantly. She's asking if you understand that trust is cumulative, built in small moments, kept in silence, protected when temptation appears. A man who respects trust doesn't demand it. He earns it slowly. There's also a fear tied to identity. She might worry about becoming someone she doesn't recognize in a relationship. Smaller, quieter, less expressive. This fear comes from environments where her voice was minimized. And now she's asking if you'll amplify her or slowly mute her. Watch how you respond when she disagrees with you, when she challenges you, when she expresses a different opinion. Those moments tell her everything about the future. A man who listens without needing to win creates space. A man who dominates creates distance. Here's the truth. When a woman shares fears about respect, trust, growth, and emotional balance, she's already seeing you as a potential partner, not just a companion. She's evaluating sustainability, longevity, emotional return on investment. These fears are not barriers. They are gateways. And only men who can handle depth without ego get invited through them. There's one final fear a woman shares when she's already picturing a future with you, and it's the fear of choosing wrong when there's no reset button left. This fear carries the weight of time, biology, memory, and regret. It's not loud, it's heavy. When she talks about being scared of ending up stuck, trapped, or unhappy long term, she's not being pessimistic. She's being honest about what commitment actually costs. By the time a woman voices this, she's no longer dating casually in her mind. She's projecting years ahead. She's imagining shared routines, shared stress, shared silence. She's asking herself whether choosing you will bring peace or quiet disappointment. And she's watching if you're mature enough to sit with that truth instead of running from it. This is where many men panic without realizing it. They feel pressure. They feel evaluated. So they either overpromise or emotionally retreat. Both are mistakes. Overpromising signals insecurity. Retreat signals unreliability. What she's looking for isn't certainty. It's steadiness. She may express this fear as confusion, saying she doesn't know what she wants. That's not confusion about you. That's fear of consequence. Because choosing a future means closing other doors. And women understand that closing doors permanently requires courage and trust. Another version of this fear is when she worries about becoming resentful, about waking up years later, wishing she had chosen differently. That fear only appears when the choice feels real. She's measuring whether the life you're building aligns with the life she wants to live, not just emotionally, but practically. Notice how she reacts to your lifestyle, your discipline, your emotional habits, your relationship with responsibility. She's not nitpicking. She's forecasting. Small behaviors today become big realities tomorrow, and she's asking if she can live with those realities without losing herself. This is the stage where women stop chasing potential and start valuing patterns. Potential is exciting. Patterns are safe. If she's sharing fears about long-term happiness, she's no longer dating the idea of you. She's dating your reality. Here's the truth most men never hear. When a woman shares fears like these, she's already emotionally invested. The question is no longer whether she likes you. The question is whether she trusts you enough to attach her future to yours. A man who stays emotionally present here stands out instantly, not because he has all the answers, but because he's not afraid of the questions. He doesn't rush her decision. He doesn't demand reassurance. He keeps showing up the same way, day after day. That consistency tells her something powerful. It tells her that fear doesn't scare you, that responsibility doesn't overwhelm you, that commitment isn't something you run from once it becomes real. And here's the final truth. Women don't share these fears hoping you'll convince them. They share them to see who you are. When the fantasy fades and reality steps in, that moment decides everything. So here's a question for you, and answer it honestly in the comments. When she shared her fears, did you try to prove yourself, or did you simply show up consistently? If this hit you, like the video, subscribe for more truths men aren't taught, and share this with a friend who needs to hear it before it's too late.